50 to 100 ATMs, y'all can keep that business. The new rich are getting rich from, they don't want to see you write $80 tip on the thing because it might not come out. Who starts a business like that whereby you're selling all these things to these people, but you can't get their contact information? I love you, Cody, but the best business you can start right now, you should have mentioned that in this video.
Let's get that people money.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video today, we're going to be reacting to businesses that always fail. 7 businesses with shockingly high failure rates. Backed by data by yours truly, Cody Sanchez. Okay, she's an entrepreneur. She's an authority in the space. Big millionaire, big type money. And yeah, she's pushing the content. She's doing her thing. And I'm inspired by her. So let's see what she got to tell us about 7 businesses that shockingly have a high failure rate. All right, Sanchez, Cody, let's go.
66% of entrepreneurs will never start a business because they're too scared of failing. How do you give yourself the highest likelihood of succeeding in a business? You follow the data. In this video, we're going to break down for you the businesses with the highest failure rate and the lowest failure rate so you can pick one where you can win. Gyms, not one of my favorite businesses. You want to know why? 80% of them fail within the first year. 81% to be precise. Now, the cool part about gyms is you typically don't need all of this. You don't need a giant building. You don't need a huge location that's prime. You could
goes gym under fire.
Have a little CrossFit gym with a box and start.
Alex Omozi, what you gonna say about this, bruh? You the gym master, right? Mr. Gym Launch.
It with a couple $100K and some friends, which is what a lot of people do. Here's the problem with gym.
Shots fired, Omozi.
Gym businesses. Typically, the owners start a gym business as a hobby, right? They like to work out, so they want to put their name on the building, and that's what they do. Which means that they neglect the finances, they don't have a marketing plan, they do things custom, they don't have standard pricing, they don't have third-party products that they take a cut on and sell, and they don't do high margin, which is things like subscriptions and also personalized training at a really expensive level.
Where's your mic, Cody?
One of the secrets to wealth in general is if you want to get rich, sell things to rich people because they pay more. Gyms are a really hard business to do that. Now, there are models that work. Gold's been around forever. It's a franchise. And there's basically 2 ways you can do a gym. You can have a Gold's Gym, and you can have a Planet Fitness, where they kind of expect you to subscribe and then really never come. Or you can have an Equinox, where they expect you to come, but you're going to pay for it. That's the difference between like $10 a month and $200 or $300 a month. Regardless, I think just go get swole when you go to the gym. And if you want to make your bank account swole, pick another business. ATMs. I get pitched this business all the time because it seems easy and like it might not take that much money to start. Let me tell you why I don't like this business because of the math. Average 3 to 5 transactions a day of $80 to $100, the average transaction size. You get 1 to 2% of it, which means you make about $2.40 to $15 a day per machine. You got
wow.
to drive around and pick up the cash in all of these on at least a couple day basis. Otherwise, they get stolen. This one actually isn't located here anymore. I bet you could guess why if you pan around this area. So the money just doesn't add up. The other problem is for
wow, it's in the hood. You should have just said that.
The machines themselves are pretty expensive. They cost 7 years on average from you giving them the money for the machine to you paying it all back with the revenue and profits of the business. The other reason is, let's think about it this way. Anybody got cash on them in this group? I know the answer to that, and that's no, except maybe Samuel. But most people these days are not carrying cash around. So we're having a declining user base with really tiny margins and a lot of logistics. Tough business.
True. Nobody carries cash anymore.
The second way that people make money on ATMs is they charge a surcharge, right? So you take a percentage of the transaction cost, 1 to 2 to 5%, and then you might add a surcharge, which is like $2 to $5 per transaction. So that is where you could make your meatier transaction. But again, if you're only doing 3 to 5 transactions today at a normal location, that's not going to be enough. Now, how could this business work? If you're outside of a cannabis store where they will only take cash, this could work. If you're outside of a bar where they require a ton of cash, this business could work.
That's true about bars because a lot of us like and love to tip the bartenders in cash because, like, you know, it shows like, hey, here's the money here. Not like, you know, a few people tip on the card because sometimes the money never gets taken out of the card. So bartenders love people who tip with cash. That's why they always have ATM in bars so you can take cash out and tip the bartender because bartenders work with tips and they love the cash. They don't want to see you write $80 tip on the thing because it might not come out.
But then you're going to have to pay more for rent on that location also. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think you need 50 to 100 ATMs to make enough profit for it to be worthwhile as a full-time gig. If you want to have
50 to 100 ATMs, I could keep that business.
a little side hustle, you want to learn the game of business, you want to learn your P&L, you want to start small, somebody else can fund you or you can lease the ATMs, then we're good to go. Why I would never buy a dry cleaning business or why Cody Sanchez hates dry cleaners. Let me tell you 2 reasons. The first one is, look at this graph.
Didn't she start with dry cleaning?
We basically seen the number of establishments plunge, meaning people are using them a lot less. Probably has to do with the fact that suits are going out, more people are working from remote, and less things that need to be dry cleaned are part of our everyday life. The second reason is one word.
Oh, she started a laundry business, not a dry cleaning business.
And it's called remediation. So if you go on the internet right now, you'll see like hundreds of dry cleaners selling for $100,000 to $200,000, and you can often sell or finance them. So why wouldn't I like those? It's because I was looking at the math for you guys. If you use a dry cleaner the old way, there could be a lot of toxicity right here underneath our feet. That needs to be cleaned up by whoever owns the business. It's called remediation. How much does that cost is fascinating. The EPA right now thinks that 75% of the dry cleaners in the U.S. are contaminated, the soil underneath them is, and that they have 650 gallons of hazardous waste that they need to clean up. But how much does the hazardous waste cleanup cost? Anywhere from, it could be $5 to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how deep it is and in what state, city, etc. I don't want to buy a business that's only making $100,000 or $200,000 or run one that's only making that much, and then I got to pay for somebody to come clean up all this toxicity. Plus, aren't we all green these days? Isn't that where we're going? So anyway, thank you to dry cleaners that exist, but also be careful about what's underneath your feet. Hotels. These are not businesses. This is real estate masquerading as a business. Let me tell you why the data says these businesses are really tough. Look at these margin numbers. So on average, you make $94,000 a year, but the average expense for a hotel is $96,000 a year. So they're losing 2%. Why is that okay? Because they use the real estate depreciation, kind of a fancy word to say that they use the ability to decrease their taxes in order for these things to become actually profitable. So they're not even profitable unless you're messing around with the IRS. Also, I don't know about you, but I don't want to have a business where somebody can call me at 2 in the morning and yell at me and expect service right away. 24/7 support is what you have when you have a hotel business. There's enough going wrong in business for you to wake up at 8, have a cup of coffee, and then deal with it. I think that's sufficient. The other thing is, this is a complex business because you see we're at one right now. And if you were to look around, you basically see a bunch of people behind me are doing landscaping, right? A bunch of people behind me are redoing the bar over here. It's complex. It requires 24/7 support and a ton of humans to run this business. Not to mention, look at what's happening to this industry. So back in the day, there were 20 major hotel companies in the 2000s. Now there are only 10. So we consolidated the industry, and those 10 own 65% of the market. So if you want to get into hotels and be into
Hilton, Hamptons, Motel 6, Ramada, Marriott. They all just like buy these little smaller ones and they become, big and stuff. That's big money.
Independent like this lady is, she's a legend into hotels, by the way. It's really hard. And so you have to end up going franchising. Most 67% of all hotels are franchised hotels. Here's the problem with that. They take a ton of your revenue, and they leave you with something like 2 to 7% total revenue at the end for you to run the business. Since these contracts run 10 to 15 years on average, you better make sure that that franchise is one you want to stick with for a while. Yeah. This hotel is amazing. The grounds are beautiful, but the problem with a hotel like this is, can you imagine what it costs to run this thing nonstop?
Sorry?
I think we've been kicked out of 17 businesses now. Amazon FBA, the other type of business that is my least favorite of all of them. Let me tell you why. Although I have a bunch of friends that made money, and you have all these young YouTubers all over the internet telling you how much money you can make doing it fulfilled by Amazon and how easy it is and how seamless it is, the truth of the matter is the math doesn't math. One, because if there is
the math doesn't math.
One platform that has more risk to, one, being your biggest competitor, which Amazon does, two, allowing a bunch of Chinese knockoffs to come compete with you, and three, actually giving your data to both your competitors and then taking your data about what sells and using it for their own, it's Amazon. Huge platform risk. The second reason why I don't like Fulfilled by Amazon businesses is you actually can't touch your customers. How wild is that? You buy from my store on Amazon, and I send to your house my product, pens, let's say. I cannot get your contact information or your address. And oh, by the way, I'm not even allowed to put something in the packaging that asks for you to write a review or that asks for you to get more information. You're completely divorced from your customers, which is one of the most dangerous things that you can do in business overall.
Jeff Bezos is a freaking don, bro. He's like a mafia boss. That's the one thing I hate about Amazon FBA, bro. Like, you can't build your own email list from your buyers on Amazon. Amazon has all the data of the people that are buying your product. So for example, if you stop selling a product, they could just create their own product and they'll already have your clientele who was buying your stuff, and that's their email list. They don't share no information about customers. Who does that, man? Who starts a business like that whereby you're selling all these things to these people, but you can't get their contact information? You can't get their email, just like she explained. That's very dangerous, bro. Same thing. I don't know if Shopify does that, but if Shopify doesn't let you have your clientele's email addresses and all this stuff, that's dangerous. But if it does, good for Shopify. But like she's saying, man, Amazon is just Jeff Bezos is a mafia boss, man. Almost one of the richest people right now. He's a mafia boss, man.
Really quickly, we can actually see how many Amazon sellers make money or not. Fast forward through what all these numbers mean, only 1% of sellers succeed with an annual salary of around $100,000 to $250,000, while 27% achieve about $5,000 in total sales. Here's all the numbers for you. Now, a lot of people can be break even inside of a year because they don't have all the crazy upfront costs you get with the business, but your ability to make six-figure income, tough. So I suppose you could have some fun. You could experiment with all the 27-year-olds on YouTube talking about Fulfilled by Amazon, but the likelihood that it's going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars is really quite slim. Furthermore, I'm really concerned about the fact that you put in all this time and effort and work, and then one thing changes on the algorithm and you're no longer listed at the top. Oh, and not to mention, the last time that I was looking at one of our businesses that had a percentage of their revenue from Amazon, they started getting competitors who actually gave fake reviews and bought their product in order to tank their rankings, because if you have one negative review on average, you need 10 to 20 positive reviews to offset it. That business eviscerated. So be very careful. We like Jeff Bezos. Rates of the world, 24-hour delivery, incredible. For our bottom line, probably not. Retail stores are the next one I wouldn't buy. Incredibly high failure rates. Look at this. The other reason is, if you think about it, these are really high rent locations, meaning that it's expensive to just even have your feet on the ground here. Second is the user base is declining. What do you mean? Well, more and more we shop online, Amazon, at e-commerce as opposed to in person. So the graph goes like this, which is usually not a great tell in a business that you're starting.
It's kind of funny how she had a delivery person right behind her, right? Because it's like nobody wants to go to the stores anymore. Everybody's buying shit online, and then a person just passes by with packages. Wow.
The other reason is they have something called negative float, which sounds like kind of maybe technical. But negative float, all that means is that you pay money upfront for clothes, maybe a season or two ahead, and you only get money when somebody buys it eventually after waiting for it to be shipped to you and then hoping that you sell to somebody else. It's also really hard to determine what inventory should look like. That's why retail freaks me out. I call this a cash suck business, not a cash flow business. And while I'm really happy to window shop, I think if you just need that little retail store to sell Live, Laugh, Love t-shirts, maybe do it as a loss leader. 3 more restaurants right next to that. So why do restaurants fail? Lots of reasons. One is they run out of cash because they don't have enough money up front. The average build of a restaurant is anywhere from $200,000 to $1 million to build out. That's a lot of quan. Second is they have to have a lot of money to keep running, both for wages for employees, but more than anything for the food that they need to sell you. Plus, there's this little word called spoilage, which is awful, which basically means that that food can't last forever like a t-shirt can't, and so you got to pay for it over time. Trucking, transportation. This is called last mile delivery, and this area is booming. In fact, the success rate is about 76.4% to do this. Now, obviously, you're not going to start your own FedEx or stand in the middle of the street because that's annoying, and now we're going to get on influencers in the wild. But what you can do is there's a bunch of trucking companies where you can own routes like this for UPS trucks, for instance, and you can also do last mile delivery for local stores. This business is booming. Why? Because you animals won't stop ordering things on Amazon. Me either. In fact, here's a last mile truck right here. I didn't realize how low a failure rate these businesses have, but I guess it makes sense for a couple different reasons. So they provide an easier way for people to do that. That's point one. The second point that's interesting is if you look at the demographics of the US today, what's happening? We're having this massive balloon of baby boomers who need somewhere to go, and increasingly, grandma doesn't live with us. They live in a center like this. We also are seeing this massive increase of Alzheimer's, dementia, or advanced care needs in these facilities, which actually increases how much money you can charge by 3 to 5x, although it's pretty sad. Could you imagine being the person that has to kick somebody out of a senior care center just because they don't have money, but they're old and they're alone, and what are you going to do? That's why I wouldn't do this business, even though apparently it's kind of hard to fail if people need a place to live no matter what. Also, cool stat, $9.18 billion is the size.
It's a business. There's no emotion. If grandma don't pay, grandma gotta go. But then again, I wouldn't do the business neither. Feel sorry for grandma, I understand. But some people who run this kind of businesses, man, they're heartless. They don't care. You pay or you go. Get out.
44 million Americans are home renters. So there's a huge captured market, and actually that market is increasing today. The other thing that's fascinating is they spend $485 billion a year on rent. Oftentimes, it's more expensive to rent than to own on a monthly basis, so you get to benefit from that. You want to break down how much you're going to make on average based on what other people make. So landlords on average make about $97,000 a year. If mom and pop landlords own multiple properties over time, you could stack a couple hundred K. What's interesting is mom and pops, me and you, own something like 20.5 million rental units in the US, which means that there's a lot of opportunity. There's a proven model. There's a specific base case for this. Now, this has been documented all over the internet, so I won't go over it ad nauseam, but if you're going to play the rental property game, do you actually understand enough to put the guarantee and the cash down that you might need on a property, because they come after you if you can't pay it off. But I like real estate. High success business. Laundromats. This one's a fascinating business. 92% success rate. I
Isn't that what she started, I guess? So
think it's probably really somewhere between 87% and 95%. And it's because these things often are cheap to start, $100,000 to $300,000. They last for a long time. The machines last for anywhere from, let's call it 5 to 20 years on average. They have repeat customers who come week after week after week. And since the number of locations is in a decline, the interesting part about laundromats also are you can add additional revenue streams. So you can have a vending machine on site, you can have an ATM company. And if you want to take a laundromat that on average probably taps out at mid 6 figures in revenue, you add delivery. Delivery and what's called wash and fold. If you see inside, we'll try to sneak in there. The ladies fold the clothes like this. They put it in bags and they send out to the neighborhood. That one bag costs you something like $30 to $50, and it costs them dollars to wash and fold. And so there's actually big margin if you can understand the logistics of that business. Also, if you want to be a total stud in how to do it, you can use a company like Sense, which is a technology company. I own part of this company, by the way, that allows you to make everything to do with laundromats a lot easier. Owning laundromats isn't all sunshine and rainbows.
Shameless plug, baby.
What you really need to think
Get
about
that
is
money,
your
Cody.
customers, 'cause sometimes
in conclusion, before I leave, let me say this. The business I would start if I was you would be something online, because there's pretty much no money involved in starting like a YouTube channel and starting a service-based business and starting anything online. Honestly, if I was in my 20s, I'm in my 30s now, but still 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, start online business. Online is at least you don't put like all these businesses that she just named, she was on location. All these are brick and mortar businesses. Nowadays, the new rich are getting rich from the internet. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, he got rich off PayPal. That's online. Before PayPal, he used to do this other thing with maps and shit. But all these Jeff Bezos, online. All these people that are getting rich now, the new rich is the internet. That's where it's at, because everybody has one of them things. My phone. Everybody has a phone. So you can make money from the internet. So honestly, I love you, Cody, but the best business you can start right now is an online business, okay? Something to do with online, because everybody's online now and it's low barrier to entry because all you need is your Wi-Fi. So all these businesses you just mentioned, you need to have a lot of money to start these businesses. You need to have over 10K, 50K, 100K, a million to start some of these businesses. But online, you can probably start with like $100, $1,000. That's doable for most people who are watching this video. But service-based, like freaking brick and mortar businesses are harder to start because you need a lot of capital. Real estate, all these, you need a lot of capital. So right now, the best thing I would advise you to start is an online type business. Whatever you decide to do, if it's, I don't want to say anything, but whatever online business you decide to do, start online. And then once you make money from the online, you can invest it into some of these businesses such as real estate, okay, and laundromats or whatever she was saying. But start with online because it's low barrier to entry. You don't need a lot of money. I love you, Cody, but you should have mentioned that in this video. Let's get it.